We're at halftime at Notre Dame. Throughout this season, we'll be sharing with you examples of how Notre Dame professors and students are working on projects that are having a great impact around the world.
The Bengal Belt began in the days of Newt Rockne.
God's Spirit dwells in all of us.
How can we help other people become more generous?
Notre Dame is helping them find the dignity they deserve.
The data set collected is unlike any other study in this field.
The same skills used by Fortune 500 companies to make a meaningful difference in this world.
Graduates from the Goodwill Excel Center see a 40% increase in their earnings, and it may even positively impact future generations.
We then provide a plan to restore social and economic prosperity to their downtown.
University of Notre Dame asks, what would you fight for?
To educate children in Ghana.
To protect the brave. For those with cystic fibrosis.
Cure brain cancer.
For NICU babies.
To serve others above self.
For global justice. For the environment.
To protect the innocent.
For ethical leadership.
Religious liberty.
Sustainable energy.
To improve hurricane forecasts.
For our veterans.
For faster virus detection.
For community regeneration.
We are the Fighting Irish.
Well, welcome, everybody. It is wonderful to be together. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for coming together to celebrate 20 years of What Would You Fight For? It's just a wonderful partnership with NBC Sports that has highlighted research making a difference in the world. And you know, this series, today's event, in fact, is part of a series that is focused on our Notre Dame Forum theme. And that theme is Cultivating Hope. And what we're trying to do here is have a campus-wide conversation on reasons for hope and how we can be better agents of hope in our world today. We know that there are many people in our world who find it difficult to hope. How can we be agents of hope? In order to be agents of hope, we need to take the challenges in our world seriously. And that's essentially what the What Would You Fight For series is all about. Highlighting ways that our faculty and students are addressing the greatest challenges in our world through their research and their scholarship. And it's just been an amazing partnership with NBC Sports. We're so grateful for that partnership. And we gather here today to give thanks and to think about the origins of that partnership, the origins of the What Would You Fight For series, and have a conversation about it. And I'm really looking forward to that conversation today. First of all, I want to thank the amazing faculty members and students who have been a part of this series. It really is your work that has made this series possible in so many ways. Your work dedicated to making the world a more humane, just, and peaceful place. I also want to thank our partners at NBC Sports. What an amazing partnership it is with NBC Sports. I'm so grateful to have Mike Tirico, a few words about Mike in a moment, but also Lindsay and Rob are here to talk a bit about their experience working on this series. It's truly grateful to have you all with us here today. Grateful for our colleagues in the Office of Public Affairs and Communications. Many thanks for all the hard work on these vignettes. There are 117 vignettes that have been aired over the last 20 years. That's pretty remarkable. And finally, a big shout out to the Delahanty family for their incredible support of this series. Without their support, it really wouldn't be possible. And so I'm so grateful for the support of the Delahanty family. Let's give them a great hand. And I can think of no better person to moderate today's conversation than Mike Tirico. Mike, I think you just returned from the Olympics in Italy not so long ago, and he is truly the voice of NBC Sports' biggest events. He's been the voice of Sunday Night Football on NBC. He's also been somebody who's actually taken a lead role in being the lead play-by-play announcer for the most recent Super Bowl. He's the winner of 5 sports Emmys and also was just inducted just last year into the National Sports Media Hall of Fame. So another hand to Mike for Mike Tirico. And for 6 years, he did the play-by-play for Notre Dame Football on NBC Sports. Those were 6 glorious years, 6 glorious years. So with no further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mike Tirico.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. How are you? It is so great to be back on campus. I have to say, Father Bob, what an honor. I don't think I've received 3 rounds of applause in 2 minutes ever in my life. So if I could just come back on a regular basis and you can introduce me, that would be great. It's an honor to be here, especially as an alum of Syracuse University. First off, thank you to Marcus Freeman and the football team for not hanging 100 on us last fall. Just shows our love for this institution. And it's also good to be here on the first day of the NCAA basketball tournament because we're out of it and we don't have a coach. So I'm miserable right now, so I'm glad to be surrounded by friendly faces. I am a Syracuse alum, as I mentioned, so too is my wife, but we live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So for the 6 years that I had the honor and pleasure of calling games in what I like to refer to as the Cathedral of College Football, Notre Dame Stadium, I'd make the drive on Thursdays down I-94, I-69, and then on 80-90 to come here. And it was so great today to get in the car and not have to put an address in the GPS and just know exactly where I was going. And to pass those wonderful landmarks that I haven't seen for the last couple of years, like the RV and Mobile Home Hall of Fame in Elkhart, right? Have you seen it? Have you ever been in? Has anybody ever gone in there, actually? Is it good? Is it worth it? It's nice, okay. Because for 6 years, I drive by and go, what's in a Hall of Fame for RVs and motorhomes? Except old RVs and motorhomes that people didn't want anymore or don't work. So that's what it is. Okay, well, I haven't missed much, I guess. And then it was nice as we had freezing rain this morning when I woke up at home and start driving. And of course, every time you get closer to South Bend, the weather becomes beautiful, right? It always happens. And as I'm doing that today, I got to see those 2 reminders that spring does start. I believe it starts officially tomorrow. Those 2 reminders that spring is here. The last little bit of snowpack is just down to the very end. And then the construction crews putting the orange barrels out that we're going to sit behind for about 5 or 6 hours. So it's that time of year, so here we go. My connection with Notre Dame starts as a kid growing up in New York and watching Notre Dame football highlights on Sunday. How many times have you heard that from people, right? But it's true. And then for the rest of the stretch after that, I had no connection to Notre Dame. I was covering college football at ESPN. And then, I hate to say divine intervention, but I will. I come to NBC after 25 years at ESPN in 2016, and I was supposed to be the announcer for Thursday night NFL games. Some political something happened, which nobody cares about. But it ends up that my football option was not there for the NFL, and the option to be a part of the Notre Dame football games was. What a life-changing experience. It really was. For 5 years, 5.5 years, I should say, I had the wonderful opportunity to share the story of Notre Dame football every Saturday with a very loyal, very passionate, very passionate, fan base, who sometimes didn't understand that we were broadcasting the game for both teams. Because every word about the opponent would be, wait a minute, it's our show, you're our network. We managed to navigate that along the way. But what I will say is I had an experience that really was life-changing for me by meeting the people who make Notre Dame Notre Dame. And I mean the student athletes, I mean the administrators, the people on campus. We'll introduce Rob Hyland in a minute. He produced I think all the games that I did here, save for one or two. And we actually, in the last year, talked Rob into moving our meeting back an hour so we could go to Mass in the Basilica on Friday afternoon. It was that exciting, that wonderful, and the journey to the grotto on Saturday morning to light a candle became something that my late grandmother would have loved, and my mom was really proud that I was a part of. And I will say that I do travel the country covering Sunday Night Football, the Olympics, other events, and I hear very often from people, boy, we wish you would come back. We had such a good time when you were the Notre Dame announcer. I don't want to remind them that the record was unbelievable when I did the games. It really goes back to Brian Kelly and Ian Book and some amazing players along the way who put together a great run of Notre Dame home games. I think they may have lost 4 home games in my 5.5 years or so, and beat #1 Clemson on the night when everybody was distanced because of COVID, and then everybody rushed on the field. And there's a shot overhead of thousands of students all together and go, well, this might be a good time to not say anything and just let the crowd noise take it, right? So my Notre Dame experience is something I cherish, and I think when I look at what we do on a day in, day out basis in television, in sports, we tell stories. Because there's laundry, the uniforms that's out there. You'll root for anybody in a Notre Dame uniform. You'll root against anyone in maybe a Miami uniform, let's say, right? But there's something about sports that makes you care, if it's not your team, when you can tell the story of the individuals who are wearing those uniforms. And that's why it's been a privilege for the last decade to be one of the many proud people to represent NBC Sports, because I will proudly say, with no disrespect to our colleagues, I think that's what our group does best. We tell stories. At the Olympics, we make you care about somebody who's laying down on amounts to a tray in a lunchroom and sliding down a track and calling it skeleton and go, what are you doing? But we make you care about them, right? We give you a reason to be invested in their emotions and their results for the next 65 to 75 seconds. And that's what Would You Fight For really does. I was always uncomfortable with it because, it's Notre Dame. We don't fight, right? You don't put that with this institution. But then when you see the stories and you understand the premise and the reach and the connection, this is incredible. It really is. I mentioned I'm a Syracuse alum. I have the honor of being on the Board of Trustees there. And one of the things that I think we all fight to do is to reinforce the importance of higher education in America in 2026. There's online education. Some of the most successful people in our country dropped out of high school and they were working in their garage or their basement and they created multi-million-dollar companies. You hear those stories all the time. But those of you who spent your 4 years here or elsewhere, you know that experience on campus, or those who are in the middle of it, the students who are doing it right now, this experience is life-changing. And those are the people you're still in touch with. Those are the group chats that you love to hear everybody weigh in. Those are the people who are at your wedding. Those are the people you're with at the worst times. That campus community's foundation are the faculty, professors, and staff. And to be able to share their stories of not just what it means in the Notre Dame community, but what it means globally, that's the power of Notre Dame. And what better place to share that for the last 2 decades than at the ultimate front porch to a university? Because athletics is the front porch, right? No matter what's done in a classroom, it doesn't make the same impact as the #1 football team in the country being on TV with millions watching. However, when you can marry those two vehicles, now it's more than just a football team and a little commercial during the game. It's a story of what an institution is all about. And that's why I'm so glad we could gather all today to celebrate 20 years of that as we start to celebrate 35 years of NBC's partnership with Notre Dame. What an exciting time it is to bring all of these together and introduce some of the people who've made that possible. So I'm going to stop talking so you can hear from our great panel for today. I guess I'll go by age, so Rob, you can come up first. I'm sorry. Rob Hyland is the coordinating producer for Sunday Night Football on NBC. He just produced the Super Bowl. He's produced multiple Olympics. He's won more Emmys than I can count. Rob spent 13 seasons producing Notre Dame football on NBC. Please welcome Rob Hyland. Oh, you're there. So one thing a producer does in TV, if you don't know, they tell you when you screw up. And Rob just told me very discreetly, you screwed up. Because sitting next to me is another person who's a producer of ours at NBC Sports. She has just finished producing the opening and closing ceremony of the Olympics, in addition to producing the alpine skiing at the Olympics, produces all of our major horse racing events, including the Triple Crown, has great roots throughout television, is second generation in the family in this industry, and most importantly, well, second most important is that she's the mother of a beautiful 8-month-old boy named Bo. But second most important, she's a 2011 Notre Dame alum, Lindsay Schanzer. Who I was supposed to introduce first because you're sitting here. Lindsay wouldn't have told me that. But I would have introduced her first, and that would have been fine. Professor Meenal Datta, the DeFlorio Collegiate Professor of Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering. Her research is part of one of the stories that has been told on What Would You Fight For over the last 2 decades. Her research focusing on deciphering the atypical tumor microenvironment that drives disease progression and treatment resistance in incurable cancers. What I think is the most interesting out of her incredible biography, she also researches cancer in the microgravity environment of space to benefit patients on Earth. That was what was featured in What Would You Fight For in 2025, and we're so honored to have a professor with us here this afternoon. Is that your assigned seat too?
Yes.
So right now I'm 0 for 3 apparently. Lauren, I guess you know what seat you're in. I'd like to meet Lauren Eglite. Lauren is class of 28, so you're a sophomore, correct? Okay, I'm gonna check everything now because I'm having a tough afternoon. Please come on up, Lauren. Chemical engineering major. She is from Lake Forest, Illinois. Lake Forest, Illinois, where the Bears have their home and where my daughter works, as a matter of fact. She's currently a sophomore. At the age of 12, Lauren had a connection with What Would You Fight For that I'm gonna let her tell in a little bit. But needless to say, she is one of the on-campus students who What Would You Fight For is a direct connection to her presence as a student at Notre Dame. So please welcome Lauren Eglite. Now that there are no more introductions for me to fumble, let's start at the beginning. I would love to go ladies first, but Rob, since you are the oldest here.
Thanks, Mike.
Other than me, you can take us back to the start of this because we're so involved in college football and TV. Let's share with everyone what college football opportunities in a broadcast there are for a university to get its message out and why this one is so unique and so different.
Yeah, starting in the late 70s, televised collegiate events would have institutionals, 30-second commercials that would celebrate that university's, message. It didn't really ever get done very well, candidly. It's a lot of beautiful shots of campuses, happy-looking kids, and test tubes. So, 20 years ago, Notre Dame came to NBC and said, let's do something different. Let's do something that changes how these are told. So because of this amazing partnership, we found 2 minutes of time before the second half would start to actually dive in and tell real stories. Like Mike mentioned about the Olympics, we're pretty good at telling the stories of the athletes in the Olympic Games. My boss, Dick Ebersol, created up-close and personal stories about athletes you may not ever hear about except for those 17 days of the game, but you cared about them because you learned their stories and you could relate to them. So could we take that Olympic profile model and turn it into a commercial? Yes, it's an institutional, but it's not scenics and test tubes. It tells the story of an individual and their connection to this university. And the challenge was, oh wait, this is going to air in a football game. How do we get people's attention? And always the goal was, let's grab their attention in the first 15 seconds, or they're going to tune out, turn on another game, get up, get a sandwich. And I'm so proud to have been a part of the very first year and in that conference room at 30 Rockefeller Plaza where this idea was hatched, and the number of countries we've been to, the miles we've traveled, and the people we've met have truly been incredible.
And it helps extend the Notre Dame story to the fans and maybe gets them more involved and more interested. That's part of Lauren's story that I'll have her tell in a minute. Professor, I'd love to come to you because when the email shows up or the phone call comes in that says, hey, what would you fight for? We want to feature your work. What was your reaction when that communication took place here on campus?
Yeah, I thought they had sent it to the wrong person. No, I was incredibly honored, especially as a junior faculty member. You know, I'm an assistant professor here. I've been here for 4.5 years, so I'm a super senior. And you know, it meant so much to me that NBC saw value in the story, but it also meant a lot to me because it meant Notre Dame and my community here saw value in this story. And I just felt proud to be able to share that with everyone.
Because as a faculty member, your work gets out through journals or other within the profession publications that candidly, most of the American public is not getting their hands on for light reading.
Sure. Yeah, it was an incredible opportunity to be able to reach, you know, when I tell my students get ready to speak to a lay audience, I say, would your parents understand what you're doing? Could you tell this to your mom? And I actually, the first person I sent this commercial to was my mom. And I said, do you get it? And what do you think? Because ultimately, if we're only doing research for ourselves and for this academic community, the benefit stays small, and we want to be able to reach everyone.
And to keep this a politics-free zone, but research is so much in the conversation at institutions around the country, and I think we see the value of it in features like this and the importance of it. And for those who have not seen Professor Datta's work in this, let's play the What Would You Fight For segment that ran a couple of years ago about her work. Please look at the screen.
Anna's like a river flowing, and if you get in it, you flow with it. She's the rock of our family, so when she was diagnosed with glioblastoma in 2023, it really shook us to our core.
You know, when they said it was terminal, I thought about the kids. How would it impact them? The time is precious, it's important. I mean, I want to be here for it all.
Each year, more than 12,000 people in the U.S. are diagnosed with glioblastoma, an incurable form of brain cancer. The average survival is less than 2 years.
Glioblastoma is relentless. It grows aggressively, adapts quickly, and evades the immune system. It's not just a cancer genetics challenge. It's a mechanical engineering problem where gravity has been working against us. So we wondered, what if going out of our world might actually be the key to saving lives here on Earth?
3, 2, 1.
In 2024, Notre Dame engineering professor Meenal Datta and her team launched a first-of-its-kind glioblastoma experiment to the International Space Station. There, they successfully leveraged microgravity to accelerate the growth of more realistic tumor models.
We've proven that space allows us to test therapies at a pace we simply can't match on Earth. Up there, the promise is infinite, and hopefully that leads us to a cure sooner.
The selection process for the International Space Station is very rigorous. We look for groundbreaking ideas and for teams with the skill and drive to carry them forward. Professor Datta's work is bold, innovative, and deeply patient-focused.
To know that people are out here thinking outside the box, that gives me courage.
The University of Notre Dame asks, what would you fight for?
Fighting to cure brain cancer.
We are the Fighting Irish.
I have like 50 questions for you, okay? And by the way, we're gonna do about 20 8 minutes of this panel, and then we'll be responding to some of your questions. So we look forward to having intelligent questions as opposed to mine to balance the rest of the afternoon. So when that aired, okay, it's a Saturday, probably late afternoon. Tell me about the emails, tell me about the text messages, tell me about the phone calls. What was the flood of information like?
Yeah, it was incredible. First of all, for me, it was 2 o'clock in the morning because I was with a group of Notre Dame graduate students at Notre Dame Calmore in Ireland. I knew that this commercial would be airing, but I decided to go on that trip. I'd made that commitment to the students. It was a writing retreat, and I wanted to spend time with them. So I celebrated with them in Ireland, our Notre Dame's second home, and seeing the outreach from, I think what touched me the most was communication from patients, from their families, from their loved ones, from domers who emailed me and said, my roommate passed away from this disease, from Notre Dame alumni who are still fighting the disease today. And remembering that what we do is for people was a very important reminder. And I think that was the most valuable response that we received.
Thank you for sharing how emotional it is, because we just treat it as work. No, please don't be sorry. Thank you, because we just treat this as this is work. This is what you do. And for us, here we are in the football game, and it's 2 minutes, and we do this. This is a nice story. Now it's time for the second half, right? But we don't ever get to hear the reality of the impact that millions get, and then seeing it online. And that's the real power of the connection. Lindsay, I'd love for you to be able to share here. The placement of this is very important in the football game, because what do we all do at halftime? We get up and get a drink, or we get a snack or something. But the placement of this feature really is in a place where it can connect with a big audience at a key moment.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a 2-minute chunk of time, which I know Rob sort of described that versus the standard institutional, but that's a solid amount of real estate to be able to tell a good story. And sure, maybe at halftime you're getting up and you're walking away, but right before the second half kicks off, butts in the seats. You know, people are ready to watch again. They're ready to see what's about to happen. And, you know, any sporting event at large is a story. You know, you sit down, one way or another, whether it's you're rooting for your team or you want to be moved by something you see on the field, the sport in general, you are there to feel something and to see the story unfold. So even though reaching that football audience, you know, with a pretty dense topic across the board is a challenge that we have, it's also not such a challenge because, you know, those people are sitting there preparing to be moved, preparing to feel something, preparing to see a story told, and what we do is try to serve them a different story that they'll understand from a human perspective.
And it takes a lot to get those stories on the air, and we'll talk about that here with Lindsay and Rob in a little bit. If you're a daughter or a dad, if you can check either one of those boxes, you know the unbelievable value of sharing a football game, especially a team you love, with your daughter or your dad. Not that moms and sons don't do that, but daughter-dad, that's kind of like a really cool bond. So, Lauren, your dad's here, right?
He is.
Where is
yes,
Dad?
Right
Hi,
there.
Dad. What's your name? Eric? Nice to meet you. Pleasure. Is this the rest of your family here,
It
Lauren?
is, yes.
Why don't you introduce them?
Well, I have my brother, Beckham, here, my sister, Alyssa, and my mom, Julie.
All right. Hey, fam. How you doing? Great to meet you all. All right, so you're a sophomore now, so yes. You're at a Notre Dame game with your dad, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay, and you're what, about 12 years old?
Mm-hmm, I was young.
Okay, so I know, because now you're 20, life's pretty much over for you, kid. It's been a good run, thanks. Can you tell us how you sitting at a football game with your dad, in the stands, how that turned into your connection with this event and what eventually turned into your Notre Dame connection.
Yeah, so growing up, I was a big Notre Dame football fan, and I was with my dad at a game, and kind of by chance, a What Would You Fight For video played about fighting for peanut allergies, which is something that I had struggled with my whole life, growing up with severe nut allergies. And I just remember seeing it and thinking, like, wow, there's kind of hope now for something that I've struggled with my whole life. There might be a cure. And yeah, I was just kind of wondering, like, I wonder if I can meet this professor and learn more about the research. And yeah, I was able to actually, thanks to a wonderful lady in the development program, we were able to meet Professor Bashar Bilgasher, who was working on a cure for peanut allergies. And yeah, my dad and Professor Bilgasher were able to become partners and are still working together to this day to try and get the drug to market. But I was able in high school to shadow in his lab, which was a super amazing experience, and really learn about what he does and the science behind it. And then thankfully I was able to attend university here at Notre Dame, which is so amazing. And halfway through my freshman year, which was last year, I was reached out to by the What Would You Fight For video team, saying that they wanted to make a follow-up of the original video that I had seen when I was so young. So I had the really cool opportunity of being a part of that and just getting to share my story and see how the research had continued. But yeah, it was a really cool full circle moment, I think.
Well, this was a game that you were at with your dad in 2017, and we happened to be on the air covering this game. So I'd love to show you the video of what played in the stadium. That was the Lauren and Dad connection to somebody who's here now as a proud member of this institution as a student. Go ahead.
Gunner, come here. It started with a simple kiss. The same loving kiss I had given my son countless times before. But this time, I had to rush him to the emergency room. The peanut butter cookies I had eaten earlier in the day caused him to have a life-threatening allergic reaction. Fortunately, he survived. As a parent, it's heartbreaking to see your child suffer and not know if you'll be able to save him.
In the past 20 years, food allergies among children in the United States have increased by 50%. At the University of Notre Dame, Professor Bashar Bilgasher is engineering molecules to prevent an allergic reaction from taking place.
Food allergies can be severe, even life-threatening. But currently, there is no medicine that can cure them. Existing drugs only help a body endure the symptoms of an allergic reaction.
Professor Bilgasher and his team are working to create an inhibitor that can be given to a person as a preventative monthly shot or pill, which will eliminate a reaction from starting at all.
As an engineer, Professor Bilgasher has brought a new perspective to solving this pervasive problem. His groundbreaking work has the potential to permanently transform the way we treat food allergies.
I never want to bury my child. I want to see him live a long life. He's a happy boy. He has so much to offer.
My hope is that our work will make the fear and trauma associated with food allergies a thing of the past.
The University of Notre Dame asks, what would you fight for?
Fighting to cure food allergies. We are the Fighting Irish.
So that plays in the stadium, and then Lauren told you the rest of the story, and we can tell you a little backstory. We never met until today, but we bonded immediately because I have nut allergies. And we just were able to, I took out my EpiPen and showed Lauren in my bag, like, hey, and it's, she didn't know anything about that. And I opened up my backpack as soon as we met backstage, and I held up my EpiPen. She's like, oh, like we're long lost friends, but like, I get it. Like, I get what you go through. And to hear that there was somebody who was out there doing research to try to make our world better was really impactful. So how has that impacted your path of study here on campus?
Well, I definitely think that experience really drawn me towards STEM. I'm currently a chemical engineering major, which is a little tough, but yeah, Yeah, I think it was really cool seeing just like what's possible for people to do in kind of those fields, and I think that really drew me there. And I think this video series as a whole really just drew me to Notre Dame, seeing what they represent and how they kind of inspire hope in so many people and the things that they're able to do, all the incredible professors and research that happens here. It's just such a cool community being surrounded by these people.
Well, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing all of that. And the lesson is always listen to your dad, right? Come to the football game with dad and look what happens. This is great. Has she taken you to a game now since she's a student here? Not yet. Well, Dad, I think you should go to the bookstore in August, buy the T-shirt, just ball cap, play like a student, and Lauren would love to have you hang in the student section. Right, Lauren?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Did I cause a problem here? I'm sorry. It's awesome. Congratulations on sharing that story with us and continuing to manage this. I also was able to share with Lauren, or somebody else earlier, that Lindsay produces the Kentucky Derby. Rob has produced the Kentucky Derby for many years before that. And this year was supposed to be my 9th year, I guess, of hosting the Kentucky Derby. And I only made it one segment of our 5-hour show because I had a nut allergy reaction. First time I've ever missed a show because of that. And so Lindsay had to produce with Ahmed Fareed, our great friend, who just did an amazing job stepping in on a moment's notice. And Rob, instead of enjoying the Kentucky Derby as a fan, he babysat me for 2 hours with the medics until they got me enough EpiPens and Benadryl to get through. So it's a real issue, and it's something that a lot of us fear. And there, in just 2 minutes, it connected to grow a Notre Dame ambassador for life, if you will, and an alum in Lauren. Lindsay, I started to talk about what it takes to do these, because a shoot on campus is pretty simple. Like Rob said, fancier shots of the test tubes, talk to the professor in a nice setting. Now we've got a good story, right? But these stories have been everywhere. You've traveled overseas to do some of these. So maybe if you can explain a little bit of what it takes to get these 2-minute vignettes throughout the home games in the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work with an incredible team who's sitting in front of me as we receive pitches basically from all of you who have been a part of these stories and elsewhere in across Notre Dame's research faculty with ideas of what they might like to do, and we read all of them, and all of the work that's being done at Notre Dame is incredible, and there are incredible stories amongst them, but we can only do 6 pieces each year, and we decide which work the best for the medium that we have. It's a 2-minute challenge that we have, not a second less, not a second more, which is very unique in terms of the feature storytelling that we do at NBC Sports, to really be in that exact bucket and try to decide what will have the most impact. And as Mike said, that has sent us all over the world. I don't have the number of countries, but I bet we can get it at some point. We just had a crew in Malawi within the past 2 weeks, prepping one of the stories for this year. And we start this process at least the year prior. One of my favorite parts of the year is coming out to the university, early in January, and getting to speak with the professors and hearing their research, hearing about their research firsthand, and really getting a sense of what they're all about and what they're trying to do and what impact they're trying to have. And then we really decide what the right voices are to accompany those stories. So, of course, it's the firsthand where the research is coming from. We will feature the professor who's doing that research. And then, it's the human stories that we've talked about. Who is it that's going to tell you their story, like in the example we just watched, that will get you to feel, really feel that it is relatable to you, whether it is specifically relatable to you or just that it is a human story that you care about. And then often, we want to make sure we have some expert in the field or elsewhere that is going to tell you, yeah, this is important, you should pay attention, and this work is critical that is being done. So it's taken us all over the place, and I just want to say in watching these, I've seen all of these, and I'm watching like a third of the screen through the mirror and still tearing up. So they're incredible. So shout out to our team and all the work that's being done by all of you.
Absolutely.
Each year.
Shout out to everyone involved and the whole group that organizes and puts it together and does the legwork that ends up in 12 minutes of content on TV a year. It's extraordinary stuff. Rob, the challenge of telling stories in a changing media environment is one I think we wrestle with on a regular basis, especially in the midst of a football game. Because we have our loyal viewers who are in their 60s, their 70s. They're going to stay for no matter what. Especially loyal Notre Dame fans, they're going to put the TV on and not move it for the whole afternoon. But Saturday is a challenging environment. People are bouncing around in college football. There's also Lauren's age group now. Love their school, love football. But sometimes, and I have kids in their 20s, sometimes you all aren't the most patient people. And you want to move on to the next thing and slide up, right? So how is the needle threaded where we can tell stories for people who are older, people who are younger, but still find a way to connect? And you've seen that evolution from when this started 20 years ago to where it is now.
It's a great question. Listen, I think back to our very first international shoot in Haiti. Notre Dame has long done great work with mosquito-borne illnesses, and I was down there in Port-au-Prince for a few days and came back changed. I knew we had content to tell an incredible story that would begin this campaign, and that was 20 years ago. I think, I said this a little earlier, but really grabbing the attention of the viewer quickly and having them relate to what they're hearing and seeing very quickly eliminates their chance for scrolling up. Or the other thing, as we left that first shoot, I remember calling our management and saying, unlike those 30-second institutionals, we need to lead to these. Our host, Tom Hammond or Mike Tirico, needs to have a very specific set of sentences that explains what we're about to see, so that it's sort of a cue. Oh wait, I'm gonna get something different than a commercial here. What is that? And then how can we come out of that commercial break to a shot of that professor or student that was in that piece in the stands, or to tease it before it airs, hey, coming up, we've got an incredible story coming up at halftime. So we never wanted to treat these like commercials, and we're always continuing to play, not tricks, but use new techniques to keep people with us for these, and to make sure they're with us at least for the first 15, 20 seconds, and then it's up to us to stay, to have them stay.
And it's a challenge too, because in storytelling, there's an arc to it, right? You want to set up and build and then do the payoff. But in a challenged environment, we've got to grab you right away. So the thoughtfulness of, here are these 3 sentences, and those sentences are usually put together by a person who is involved in the story, somebody who can help explain it and set up what you're about to see. And hopefully we grab you and then you can watch. Professor, I'd love to come back to you and just talk about, in general, getting the message out. Because I think what grabs headlines, the shiny things grab the headlines, the negative things grab the headlines. There's a lot of positive in research, but sometimes it's hard to get a lot of people to come drink out of that fountain. What does, you've not only seen yours, but you've seen the impact that What Would You Fight For has had across the campus and beyond. What would you say is the connection of finding a positive story and it now resonating with the audience?
I mean, I do think that we as professors, I mean, especially those of us who do research, but even those of us who teach, we are trying to have a positive impact with the work that we do. And especially as engineers, I'm so glad to see another fellow engineer on the stage. You know, we want to solve problems, and most often we want to solve these unsolvable problems. And I think that even though we come from a point of challenge, it's easy to talk about the positives, you know, think about what we could achieve if we overcame these issues. And in fact, when I was interviewing for this position here at Notre Dame, I was sent a series of these videos to watch.
Oh, really?
To not only inform me of, you know, what do we actually do on this campus, but to show that Notre Dame was invested in telling these positive stories and in using non-traditional outlets like a football game to communicate the positives of the work that we're doing and reaching, you know, what others in tech industry and so on might call the stakeholders, you know, who is really going to benefit from the work that we're doing. And I just think that positive messages reinforce better than negative messages.
Lauren, we go back and forth, we as in adults, on your generation better hustle up and save us from ourselves, to they don't get it, right? They're in their phones, they don't get it. But this has given you maybe a different window on, at a very early age, by the way, as a young teen, research, a campus, and what a connected campus can really mean. Just I'd love if you could share for those of us who are not students here right now, what are the thoughts and the conversations of your fellow students about the impact this campus can have on the world as we get into a world that's a little more complex, and sometimes it's scary to think about the world that we all are going to send you out to in a few years?
Yeah, well, I think me and my friends all agree that Notre Dame is a very special school in what it does and the things that it strives to do. I mean, all the amazing research it does here, but yeah, I think it's really cool to see how there's such a global outreach and all these things. And I think even in my generation, it's easy to kind of get lost in just all of the media and stuff we consume and forget about these kind of stories. But I think they still have such an important impact on people. And, there's it's so versatile, and they just reach so many people's hearts and connect so many different people, which is really great.
Lindsay, as an alum here, I know you take great pride every chance you get to come back on campus, but I think your perspective of not just being involved in some of the ideas and the production and the execution of this, but also you watch them through the lens of being an alum. So can you speak to the pride that you feel? I know you said you're emotional, but as you go through all these stories and maybe things that you didn't even know were going on your own campus when you were here that now are front and center in your mind as a super proud alum.
Incredibly proud, overwhelmed. Like I said, when I sit in these meetings in January and get to hear it firsthand from the professors, just what's being done out there. And by the way, not exclusively professors. Sometimes it's students, often the work that they're doing. It makes me wish that I were a little bit more engaged when I were here and trying to seek out these stories from departments outside of what I was studying. But it's just incredible pride, and getting to see the stories told. And I suspect many of my friends know that I'm involved in this project, but not all of them. And I hear from people too. When these stories air, every once in a while, somebody will get in touch with me. Did you see that? That was pretty cool. Or I'll just hear from people that they're watching these and they see the impact the university has. And it really does carry. It casts a wide net, and I'm incredibly proud to be a part of it, and selfishly feel extremely lucky to be a part of this project and continue at the university well beyond my my graduation year.
Universities never lose us once we graduate, right? Always find us, especially on Giving Day, right? Yeah. Professor Datta, has Giving Day happened here yet? Or is it coming up soon? Every day is Giving Day. That's exactly right. But you get a sense of how far away it gets from you, and then how close it still is. I saw on my social media feed, because I still follow the university on my X feed, formerly Twitter, that the invitations to students went out yesterday for the class of 2030, right? That first, I immediately closed my phone. I said, no, I must be tired. I'm misreading that. And just the call out to share the videos of the joy when the students find it. And it never gets old, because you know that people who are coming are going to follow the footsteps that you've gone through. For those of us who are alums of this school or other schools, it's always so exciting. So, Professor, we have about 3 minutes, and then we're going to get to your questions, which I'm told are going to be on this iPad. So if that's a warning that they're going to be there and I can't screw it up like you promised, we'll find out. How do you make the first connection to get something on the space station? Because I think it's the most fascinating thing. Like, is there like a 1-800 space station number? What do you do?
Well, I have Spock's phone number. Is my colleague Tengfei here? Yeah, okay, Professor Tengfei Luo is here in the middle column. He actually had a What Would You Fight For with Dr. Brandon Ashfield. Brandon is here as well. They did amazing work on using these ionic liquids, this brand new category of fluids for water purification and pollution detection. And the year that I joined Notre Dame, 2021, Tengfei sent an experiment to the space station to look at the behavior of fluids like that in microgravity, thinking that gravity really bogs down our experiments. It really doesn't matter what you do in science or engineering. Removing gravity lets us achieve things and see things that we miss, frankly, here on Earth. And so I saw Tang Fei do this experiment. I emailed him and I said, this is so cool. How did you do this? And he said, well, like anything in research, you got to get funding. I said, okay, send me a grant to apply for. And he said, and then you hook up with a industry partner that will build a little box to run your experiment for you on station. You hook up with NASA, you hook up with SpaceX to get it on the rocket. So it's a million moving chess pieces, but I think what was amazing is because of Tang Fei and Notre Dame's prior experience in space, they were willing to take that risk with us.
Wow.
And so all of these moving pieces came together, the most important of whom, if I can say, was my graduate student, Alice. Alice isn't here today. She's actually interviewing for her postdoc right now as we speak.
Right.
She's defending her thesis on this work next week. And I called Alice on New Year's Day, and I said, we've been invited, but we have 60 days to prepare. Can you do it? And she said yes. And 60 days later, we were on a rocket to the space station.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's the students.
Well, it's all sending good vibes Alice's way.
Yes.
As she goes through that. I'm sure she'll succeed. If I can be rude here for a second, any of the other professors or people who are associated with other episodes, if you will, of What Would You Fight For, please stand up so we can recognize you. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Come on. Thank you for sharing your talent, your treasure, not just with your university, but with us at NBC and with the larger community who's watching Notre Dame football. It's so great. We actually only did that to make sure that the audience wasn't full of just people who are being honored today. I want to make sure we had some actual live guests who wanted to be here. Before we get to the questions, Rob, I'm going to lob this last one at you. The power of Notre Dame football is different in terms of a vehicle than almost anything else in sport. How much do you think that has contributed to the success of this, which Lindsay was proudly representing her team at the Sports Emmy Awards as this series, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, was honored with a Sports Emmy. What is it about Notre Dame football that gives this the runway to pull this off?
Well, it's Notre Dame football, it's the New York Yankees, it's the Dallas Cowboys. This is a brand that is bigger than just a university playing football. And I think it's the alumni network that is stronger than any, in my opinion. I didn't go to Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame. I went to a small school, but the people that come out of here are so connected to it and are so proud. I think Lindsay could probably better speak to the experience of these pieces. I can tell you, though, as someone that's covered college football for a long time, there are a lot of athletic directors and sports information directors that are very envious of this campaign. They look at it and say, why don't we have that? And we're really proud that we started that.
As sports pulls farther away from the amateur model that many of us grew up with, for universities, it's so important to keep the sports attached to what happens on campus. And this does that. It's a perfect minute for us to say hello and acknowledge and a thank you to Pete Bavacqua, the Director of Athletics here at Notre Dame, who was our boss at NBC for some time. Pete, it's so great to be back with you, and thank you for supporting us here today as well. You were right, the questions are here. I trusted you the whole time. We have some questions from the audience. We'll share them here in our final 10 minutes or so together, if that's okay. This is from Margaret, who's a faculty member. And I guess Rob and Lindsay, you can fight over this one. Do you envision any changes to the series over the next 20 years? So Lindsay, I'll go to you with that one.
It's hard to say. I mean, of course, sure there will be changes, but I think something special about this series actually is that it has always kind of held to that core principle and what we're talking about, which is telling human stories and shining a light on the great work that's being done at Notre Dame. And I hope that that carries through the next 20, 100, 1,000 years, however long we get to do this. So I hope that it doesn't change dramatically, but of course we'll evolve with the times. I hope we get to go to more places. I hope we actually get to send, a camera and a person up to space with this, research that's being done, and take it outside of our planet. Take it as far as we absolutely can. But I hope the core principles stay the same. Really.
That'd be pretty cool. Professor Datta, you're up for that.
Yeah.
Good. And it'll be Lauren's. It'll be her research at some point because.
We'll send Lauren.
Mom, we cool with that? You're a younger brother, would I assume? Do you want to send your older sister to space? Okay. Always want to know what the dynamic is, so that's great. Owen, who is a student, thanks for being with us here today, Owen. Again, I'll send this towards Rob and Lindsay. As storytellers, how do you effectively relate to the viewer when research happens halfway across the globe?
I just did one. Go ahead.
Okay. How do you relate to it when it's halfway across the globe? Well, you hopefully find a connection here, and you take a long trip with them to where they're doing their work. And I think that's been the beauty of this campaign. There are no limits. There are no boundaries to where this project has taken us. But I think it's really important to find a connection that could be your next door neighbor that happens to be doing extraordinary work 8,000 miles away.
Yeah, that's the key in any storytelling. There's always a hook. And that's why Rob was talking about the start of this, and Lindsay amplified that. Those first 15 seconds, let's get you hooked. And sometimes that could be a scene on campus where you see that professor walking. Go, oh, I walked that path when I was there, or I recognized the dome in the distance. And seeing that person and then telling their story from there, or the grab you of, I was worried that I killed my son because I ate a peanut butter cookie, right? Like, how do you turn away from that? If you have any soul, right? So those hooks are the ones that, as they said before, now you'll watch TV all differently. Your mouth will be open looking for that hook in the first 15 seconds. So faculty member Jay asks, how are the stories shared beyond games to show the importance and the impact of research and university support with broader audiences? So Professor, I might send that to you because your story aired and then the game ended, but the impact kept going. How much did you experience that firsthand?
It was frankly amazing to see the media machine, behind this campaign and how much larger it is than that 1 2-minute ad live during a USC game in this case. And
oh, you got the prime position, huh?
Nice real estate.
There we go. Space station? Oh, you get the USC game.
Rockets get you the USC game. So, what was amazing was, first of all, an entire website was built with information about this campaign prior to the ad being shown. After that, there were additional short pieces on every social media that I'm sure some of our younger folks would use, like Instagram and TikTok, et cetera, reaching people on LinkedIn, being linked to Giving Days, et cetera. And it still continues today. I mean, we're talking about it 6 months later. And for me, it feels like the campaign never ended. So it's just been more and diverse types of positive and varied reinforcement of the story that we're trying to tell.
And Laura, we showed the story that you saw when you were in the stands with your dad, and then you mentioned that you did an update of that. So as somebody who's on social media, I would imagine has a lot of friends, what was the reaction like once people saw your story?
It was a little interesting. Well, I had no idea it was going to get posted on Instagram and all that stuff, so that was a little bit of a shock to open to see my face. But I don't know, I think it was really cool just seeing how everything evolved. I mean, the research and everything. Yeah, I think it goes to show like how the longevity of the series is and how it really continues to stay relevant and impact people.
Did you have people who didn't know that you had a nut allergy
A couple,
come to you
yeah.
and then say, oh, I didn't know that?
Yeah. Well, also, too, I had some friends and family reach out who also have nut allergies, just saying how amazing it was to hear what's being done and that there might be a cure. And that, to me, was super awesome to hear.
We had a similar experience when my Kentucky Derby deal happened. I went on the Today Show and talked about it that next Monday, and I heard from people who had lost kids, who had severe allergies as well, just said, thank you for sharing with the platform because it let me know about something that I didn't know. So I'm sure you've had an impact and a reach that you never imagined you would just by going to a football game with your dad, right? So there it is again. We come back to going to a football game with dads and daughters, right? Okay, student Molly, thank you for this question. How have you seen these stories bring about a sense of unity and being a force for good that the university strives for? That's a great question. Anybody want to jump in on that one? Lindsay?
What's the best way to answer it? It just feels kind of like what it is. I don't know, it's being here. It's all of these people showing up. It's hearing from your peers, your colleagues, your friends, and the impact it's had on them just to watch it. I think, I don't know, maybe my perspective on it is a little bit too small, but it's like I said, it's coming here. It's hearing the stories. It's working with the team here at Notre Dame. It's going to it's going to accept the award at the Sports Emmys and having people come up to me afterwards and saying how much they love this campaign. It's hearing from other ADs and people at different universities that they're envious of what we have built here. It's really wide-ranging, but I think it's very special.
As a good producer, you segue to the next question without even knowing it.
Uh-oh.
You're brilliant. Faculty member Mary and staff member Brian, you've teamed up on this question, huh? I see. We're not going to do a story on you just because you team up for a question. So, did the Big Ten copy Notre Dame? Smiley face. Yeah. Apparently, that's yes. Seriously, has any other university and/or network tried to replicate this series? Is this only possible and desirable because of the alignment in values and partnership between NBC Sports and Notre Dame?
I could probably turn to Pete right now, but I won't. When we were negotiating for the Big Ten television contract, we actually presented the Notre Dame model to them. Kevin Warren at the time was overseeing the negotiation. He loved the idea, but not every university wanted to do it. Some did, some didn't. And some have copied it to some degree, but it's not the same. And I'm very happy it didn't work out, but we definitely presented that as a selling point of what we could do for each university, but they were not unified in their approach. So thankfully, it is still one of one.
And that's the value of that NBC Notre Dame partnership that we talked about. And whoever asked before, how do you see it evolving for the next 20 years? I'd like to thank you for helping Pete negotiate a 20-year deal between our two sides. I think that it sounds great. I'm all for football independence. Is this being recorded? I've been impeached as a vice chair of the board at Syracuse. Thank you. Will you have me here? Okay, from Lauren, from student Carolyn, for Lauren. Lauren, do you know Carolyn, by the way?
I think I do.
Okay. Now you have to stand up because you did this to your friend. Hi, welcome. That's cool. Thanks for being here to support your friend. Sorry for embarrassing you. So it's a great question, though, from Carolyn. How do you foresee what would you fight for and your research continuing to shape your Notre Dame experience? It's a great question.
I think saying my research is a bit of a stretch, but I think, yeah, definitely the research they've been doing here. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I think that they are pretty close to getting a drug to market that would help cure peanut allergies. And I think that would be just so amazing for me and so many other people that suffer from allergies. I mean, even just feeling more secure going to the dining hall and go to the restaurants, just, I don't have to worry I'm gonna eat something that might send me to the hospital. Like, I think, yeah, it'd just be such an amazing thing.
Absolutely, it certainly would. And thanks for supporting your friends. And it's a great question, too. Next year, you can host the panel, and I'll just sit out there and fire out questions to embarrass my friends. Yeah, that's the coolest part of the college experience, right? On an afternoon, in the first nice afternoon in 3 months out here, you come inside to support your friends. That's truly what the Notre Dame spirit and college in general is all about. All right, last question. This is from a staff member, Krista. It's for Mike, Lindsay, and Rob, so I'll turn it to Rob and Lindsay. For those interested in a career in sports broadcasting, can you share a bit about your career paths and the key experiences that led you to your current roles?
Oh, me first.
You got it.
Well, I loved sports growing up. I played sports in college. I wasn't good enough to be a professional football player. The NFL was not looking for a 6'1", 235-pound offensive lineman, unfortunately. But I wanted to continue covering sports. At first, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, working on athletes. But I got this bug. I had one internship before my senior year at Williams College at our local TV station in LA, and I just fell in love with it. And what I fell in love with were the stories of the 1996 Olympic Games from Atlanta and the way the packages came together on the athletes. It could have been my neighbor that seemed pretty ordinary, but was doing extraordinary things in the Olympic Games. It hooked me, and from that point forward, I said, hey, my goal is to produce a Super Bowl. I just did my first with Mike a month ago, and it's been an incredible ride.
Yeah, I started my career as a runner, which was, bringing coffee and sandwiches and scripts to people. Incredibly, it was out at Wimbledon, tennis tournament in England, which is phenomenal. I was lucky enough to be there bringing coffee to people, and somebody got sick one day who was serving a role as a stage manager. They asked me to fill in, and that's when I got the bug. That position is sitting in the announce booth, in front of the field of play. Announcers are in front of you. You're wearing a headset, listening to the production truck. And it was the first time I really got to hear everything going on from all sides. And I was totally hooked. And after that, it's just where I wanted to be. I started after that in the Olympic Profiles and Features department right out of school, which was here back in 2011. And I just wanted to tell stories about Olympic athletes. And after a few years of doing that, my career veered into live production, and I've been a live producer ever since, but it's always been about storytelling from day one, and I feel lucky to keep doing it.
And for me, there are a lot of students on this campus who work at Fighting Irish Media, and they do an excellent job. And the 6 seasons of being here at Notre Dame, I saw that firsthand. I was them many years ago when I went to Syracuse. Syracuse has a well-renowned communications program. A lot of announcers have come out of that school, and it attracted me there and is why I still stay involved with the school. But I just had this dream. Early on, I realized that my athletic career was not going to take me where I wanted it to. It was either sports media or sports medicine. My science wasn't good, not an engineer. I went to the sports media side and had the opportunity to be an intern, work in college radio, and next year I will start my 40th year on TV, and I still love my job every single day. And one of the great benefits of the job is it's taken me around the world to every continent except Antarctica to cover sports live on TV, is that you get to meet really special people. And that's the athletes, that's the people you work with. I didn't know Rob or Lindsay 11 years ago, I would say. Yeah, 11 years ago. And they are now two of my dearest friends. And as Rob said, we got to do the Super Bowl together. And the best part of doing the Super Bowl was I got to do it with as good a friend as I've ever had in life. And that's what this What Would You Fight For is really about. It's about connecting people and people's stories and finding other people who are like you, who care, and you together do something better than you would as individuals. And we live that in TV. I know you live that in research. You're living that with your student community and your friends supporting you. And I think this shares why it's special at Notre Dame. And I'll just take this second to thank you, Father Bob, for having us here. It's an honor always to be on this campus. I missed being here the last 5 years, but as I drove in, I was reminded how lucky I am to have on my resume, and I know Rob feels the same, and Lindsay as an alum even more, honored on our resume to say we've been associated with this great institution and the amazing things you do. So thank you for the privilege of being a part of that. Our program is done. The next step in this is you will get to hear me make those closing comments I just did. And then I'm going to invite all of you to join a reception. It's going to feature faculty, research teams available to discuss the work they featured. There's some tables out there that I saw as we came in showing specific research that was done by members of the faculty. So they'll be by those, and you can find out more about this great program. Professor, Lauren, Rob, Lindsay, thank you. Thank you all. Have a great day, and go Irish.